What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's video, we're going to give you our starts and sits for Week 3 fantasy football. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, before we get into today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video as it will help us out tremendously. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's video. All right, Nick, Week 3 is upon us. We have a great slate of games today, and I want to talk to you a little bit about our fantasy starts and sits. We have some interesting names on both sides of the coin here. And Nick, why don't you get us started? Your start and sit for the quarterback position.
Yeah, taking a look at my start quarterback, I have Joe Burrow going up against the New York Jets. Now, last week we saw the Jets give up 30 points to the Cleveland Browns, where Jacoby Brissett looked really good. Now, Joe Burrow having a bad week, he's looking to rebound, and he's got Jamar Chase, he's got T. Higgins, he's got Tyler Boyd. These are big weapons that the Jets defense will not be able to stop all game long. The Cincinnati Bengals love throwing the ball, and I think that Joe Mixon just won't have as much success on the ground. That's going to lead to a lot of passing in this matchup, and I think Joe Burrow is ready for some revenge, and this is the game that he gets it. So I like the fantasy upside for Joe Burrow this week. But my sit quarterback for this week, it's going to be Tua going up against the Buffalo Bills. Tua had a fantastic fantasy output last week, but the Buffalo Bills defense is they're going to be very tough to stop. This is a divisional matchup. That Bills defense has seen Tua quite a few times, and they know what he's going to be able to do. You may say Tyreek Hill is unguardable. Jalen Waddle is also in that range as well, but it's going to be a very strong pass rush coming from the Buffalo Bills, and I don't know if Tua is going to be able to handle it. We saw him struggle with the Patriots pass rush. He struggled a little bit last week. I just don't think that Miami is going to be able to handle it and contain it all game long, and it's just going to lead to a lot of bad plays from Tua, and I just don't think that he'll have that same fantasy output this week.
As for my starts and sits at the quarterback position, I'm starting Matthew Stafford. Stafford has an incredible matchup this week going up against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have given up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this season so far. Stafford has a plethora of weapons to go to. Allen Robinson getting into the mix. We saw Cam Akers get involved in the passing game. Obviously, he has Cooper Kupp. This offense is going to be elite, and it is about time going against this Arizona Cardinals defense. They are going to show out and show up. I fully expect Stafford to be a fantasy starter for your team. Now, for my sit quarterback, I have a big name here. I'm going with Lamar Jackson. Now, you can call me crazy, and you can say I don't know what I'm talking about, but the Patriots are ranked 8th when it comes to team defense. They gave up 13 points to the Miami Dolphins. They gave up 14 points and only 1 touchdown to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that knows how to play Lamar Jackson. On top of that, Lamar has injured his right elbow, his throwing elbow. That could limit how much he's able to get the ball deep down the field. This is going to be a game where the Patriots contain him in the pocket. They're going to make him beat them with his arm. And we saw in 2020 where he was able to get a little bit of things going, but he was not able to run the ball. He's going to be a pocket quarterback in this game. I do not expect him to have a big output. I'm sitting Lamar Jackson in Week 3.
Now, taking a look at the running backs, my start running back for the week is Rashad Penny going up against the Atlanta Falcons. To me, the Atlanta Falcons front seven has not been that great so far this year, and Rashad Penny has proven that he can be that workhorse, and he's really carried over from last season, and this should be a really good game script for the Seattle Seahawks running game. And to me, if Rashad Penny really shows up like he has so far, and he has the game script that we expect him to, his fantasy upside will be really high. But for my sit running back this week, I'm going with J.K. Dobbins up against the New England Patriots. He's making his return from that torn ACL, and this is just going to be a very strong Patriots run defense to go up against. They have stymied some big running backs, including Najee Harris last week. J.K. Dobbins is going to have to get his footing, and this is just not going to be the week to do it, so I will be fading on J.K. Dobbins in Week 3.
If you have J.K. Dobbins, don't fret because you can always pick up Zamir White. Zamir White is the backup running back for the Las Vegas Raiders, but it looks like Josh Jacobs will not be traveling with the team to Tennessee, and Zamir White has been getting a lot of RB2 touches. He is going to be the workhorse for the Raiders this week. I fully expect him to have a full workload with the Raiders offense. This is a guy that showed in the preseason that he is able to stay upright. He can carry defenders through the hole. This is a guy that you can rely upon, and he could be the next answer for the running back position for the Las Vegas Raiders. For my sit running back, though, I'm going with another big name here. I'm going with Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I know this is a guy that has been drafted high and people have been high on for the last few years, but it has not been the productive year we expected out of Ezekiel Elliott. And with Dak Prescott going down, things have not looked pretty for him so far. We take a look. Zeke has had 5.9 fantasy points each of the first 2 weeks this season. On top of that, Tony Pollard was a top 3 scoring running back in week 2, which means that the Cowboys are leaning more toward Tony Pollard being the workhorse back, not only in the receiving game, but working in between the tackles. I think that Ezekiel Elliott is just a spot play at best. He is touchdown dependent, and Tony Pollard seems to be taking that role away from him. I am sitting Ezekiel Elliott in week 3.
Switching it over to the wide receivers, my start wide receiver is going to be Sterling Shepard going up against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Now, Sterling Shepard, he had a slow week 1, but he really came through last week, and I think with Kenny Golladay clearing out his locker, really not being a part of the New York Giants anymore, we're going to see an uptick in the targets going to Sterling Shepard. That connection between him and Daniel Jones was there last year, but then Sterling got injured. It seems like that's about to come back with him being the wide receiver 1. I think that he is going to be a very safe play in this divisional matchup. But looking at my sit wide receiver for the week, I'm taking Adam Thielen up against the Detroit Lions. Now, Adam Thielen, he had a lot of hype around him a few years ago, but all of that has gone away, and Justin Jefferson is the guy. It seems like Irv Smith is getting more involved, and so is KJ Osborne. The play we've seen from Adam Thielen has been very slow. He is not able to get separation like he used to. He is really just a shell of himself, and the name value cannot be something that you're throwing into your starting lineup, so I am sitting Adam Thielen this week.
Sit Adam Thielen, start Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel has led the Washington Commanders in targets. This is a guy that has taken over the offense. When you take a look at how the Commanders are running this offense, you see Carson Wentz looking deep downfield for Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and when that's not open, Curtis Samuel is the dump-off guy. We thought that Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson would have been that guy, but it's actually Curtis Samuel. He has been the security blanket. He's led the team in targets all season long, and by a lot, actually, and this guy can absolutely take over a game. We saw what he was in Carolina. Last year was just a weird year for him getting used to the Washington Commander offense. Now he's fully ingrained. Carson Wentz has found a guy, and it looks like Curtis Samuel is him. Now, for my sit wide receiver, I'm going with DJ Moore going against the New Orleans Saints. DJ Moore has been less than spectacular this season, and he has all the talent in the world, but the problem is the quarterback has not found him. In fact, he's found Robbie Anderson well more than DJ Moore. And I believe that at the end of the day, when you take a look at this matchup, Marshawn Lattimore is going to have a field day trying to shut down DJ Moore. Baker Mayfield's going to look for other options, including Robbie Anderson, including the tight ends. They are going to show Christian McCaffrey a lot, and I believe that DJ Moore will end up with yet another anemic offensive day.
Now to round it out, the tight ends, my start tight end is going to be Logan Thomas up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now Logan Thomas, he's another guy, came back from injury this year and he had a slow week 1. He wasn't really involved. It seemed like the wide receivers for the Commanders were getting all the attention until week 2. That's when he started to really get his footing, get involved into this offense, and there's still a lot of hype around these wide receivers. That's where a lot of the attention on defense is going to go. Logan Thomas should have a lot of one-on-one matchups that'll be very favorable in this divisional game, and I think that Logan Thomas will be a great fantasy target this week. But for my sit tight end this week, I'm going with Taysom Hill taking on the Carolina Panthers. And Taysom Hill is that versatile guy who can do everything, but he doesn't always get the opportunity to do so. And in this matchup, I think it's going to heavily favor the New Orleans offense in the passing game. Jameis Winston should be able to do a lot of this work, and I just don't see a lot of opportunities going the way of Taysom Hill. Play him at your own risk, but I would stay far away from this guy until we see a better matchup come his way. So I will be fading Taysom Hill in week 3.
I was a guy who picked up Taysom Hill, and then I ended up dropping him for my start tight end of this week, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram led his team in targets in week 2, and Doug Peterson typically features a tight end in his offense. When you remember his time in Philly, he had Zach Ertz, then they got Dallas Goedert. Now you're looking at Evan Ingram in that same vein. He's a guy who's going to get the bulk of the looks from the quarterback position. I believe that Evan Ingram is a talented, extremely fast tight end who can really match up well against opposing defenses. Going against the Chargers, he's going to have a tough task with Derwin James, but I think that they're going to use a lot of tight end screens. They're going to use a lot of ways to get Evan Ingram open in open field, and I fully expect him to have a big day against the Los Angeles Chargers. For my sit tight end, it's none other than Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, 0 fantasy points through 2 weeks. The next fantasy point that this guy gets will be his first of the season, and it's not going to be something that you can rely upon. I know that he was drafted as a higher end tight end, you know, for the guys who missed out on the Darren Wallers, the Travis Kelce's, and Mark Andrews. Cole Kmet was a guy that people were targeting. Unfortunately, he has not panned out well, and the entire Chicago Bears offense has not panned out well, as they had only 11 dropbacks for passes last week in a game that they were behind significantly to the Green Bay Packers, yet they still decided to run the ball. They still decided to use Justin Fields' legs. It did not work out well. You cannot trust anybody, whether it's Darnell Mooney or Cole Kmet on this offense, until we see more from Justin Fields and company. I'm sitting Cole Kmet this week.
It's a real unfortunate situation because Cole Kmet is a very talented tight end. Unfortunately, this Chicago offense is just deplorable at this point.
Well, I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below what you think of our starts and sits. Let us know if you have any fantasy questions that we can answer. Hit us up in the comments down below. All right, well, that's going to be all for now. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.